Hey, thank you so much for joining me again today. Today we're going to go through yoga flow that you can take on your rest days or whenever you're fitting a bit of time in between training where you still like to keep active. So taking the hands behind, forehead comes down towards the mat. On a deep inhale, we're going to lift the head, pressing the hands back behind us, interlacing the fingers. Exhaling, folding forward, forehead comes down towards the mat, pressing the hands up overhead. Inhaling, lifting the chest, hands come back, chest lifts, maybe the neck. Exhaling, forehead comes down, hands follow. Once you get down to the mat, pressing the hands up. Inhaling, lifting the chest, pressing the hands back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Exhaling, sinking down towards the mat, pressing the hands up overhead. One last time. Inhaling, coming upwards, lifting the chest, and then releasing the hands. We're going to take both hands down to the mat, hips come over the knees. And then on the exhale, we're going to walk the hands forwards and the hips stay where they are. So we're coming into our puppy pose and we're sinking the chest down towards the mat, reaching forwards with the hands. Maybe the chin comes down to the mat, maybe the forehead. Breathing in deeply here, exhaling fully. On the next inhale, we're going to take the chest forwards through the hands, sinking the hips down towards the mat, and then lifting the chest into an upward facing dog. Exhaling, pressing down into the hands and the knees, taking the hips back, coming back towards our puppy pose. Taking a deep inhale here. Staying for the exhale. Then on the next inhale, we're rolling forwards again. Chest comes through the hands, lifting upwards, maybe lifting the chin. Exhaling, pressing the knees and the hands down. The hips go back. Coming back towards our puppy pose. Staying for the inhale. Releasing the exhale. One last time. On the next inhale, drawing the chest through the arms towards the hands and lifting it upwards. Exhaling, pressing the knees into the mat, walking the hands in a little bit to take the hips back over the knees into our puppy pose. From here, we're going to tuck the toes, taking the hands under the shoulders, finding our tabletop, and then on the next exhale, taking the hips all the way back and up into our downward facing dog. And maybe pedaling the legs out here, taking a gentle stretch of the calves, the hamstrings, allowing the hips to rise and fall. And then when you find that point of stillness, releasing a big exhale. On the next inhale, we're going to take the right hand back towards the left ankle or the shin and twist towards the left. Breathing into the twist here. One last inhale, and then exhaling, taking the hand back, so coming back towards our downward facing dog. Inhaling, taking the left foot all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, taking the foot in between the hands, finding that balance point. And then on the inhale, lifting the chest and the hands, coming up into our high lunge. And just taking a moment here to make sure we've got both hips level and facing forwards. So sometimes that means taking a little bend to the back knee. On the next inhale, we're going to take the hands down to prayer at the heart center. And then exhaling the right elbow over towards the left knee, pressing it in, coming into a prayer twist in high lunge. And here we want to twist to draw the sternum in alignment with the hands. But if it doesn't quite reach, that's all good. Breathing deeply wherever you are. On the next exhale, we're going to keep the hips low, but we're going to take the right foot forwards so it's aligned with the left foot. And if we look down, our knees should be around about even. Coming forwards into our chair pose with a prayer twist. Breathing in here. On the exhale, we're going to take the hands up, keeping the hips low. If we look down, we should just about be able to see our toes. Reaching upwards with the hands. Breathing into the belly. Feeling the back expanding. Exhaling fully. If it feels good here, we can take our weight over into our right foot, lifting the left out ahead. And if it feels good, taking that left ankle over the right knee, finding a little figure four stretch all through the left hamstring, left glute. One last inhale here. And then exhaling, straightening the legs, taking the hands down to the side, maybe taking a little shake out with the legs. But coming into our mountain pose, Tadasana. And from here, we're going to take our left foot, so the one we had lifted, and we've got the option to either take it to the ankle, the shin, or maybe drawing it up into the inner thigh, finding our tree pose. One little balance challenge, maybe taking the hands up overhead, breathing in deeply, finding that point of balance, and when you found it, maybe seeing about closing down the eyes, testing the proprioception. On the exhale, we're going to take the left foot behind, arms come up overhead, bending into the right knee, finding our high lunge. On the next exhale, taking the hands down to the mat, stepping back into high plank. One big breath here. And then exhaling, lowering halfway to Chaturanga. Inhaling, lifting the chest, untucking the toes, and then exhaling, taking the hips all the way back and up into our downward facing dog. And once again, having a little pedal out of the legs, seeing how they feel now that they've maybe warmed up a little bit. Coming to a point of stillness. And then on the next inhale, we're going to take our left hand back towards the right ankle or the shin, twisting open towards the right, and breathing into the twist. One last inhale here. And then exhaling, taking the hands back, finding the balance. On the inhale, we're going to lift the right foot all the way up. Exhaling, taking the foot in between the hands and checking in, finding that point of balance before we inhale, reaching the hands up overhead, coming back into our high lunge. And again, just allowing ourselves to make any little adjustments, taking the hips to balance, making sure the knee is over the ankle, maybe allowing a little bend into the back knee if that feels a little bit better. Then inhaling, taking the hands to prayer, and exhaling the left elbow over towards the right knee, pressing down into the knee, twisting to the right, drawing the sternum in line with the hands, breathing into the twist, feeling a gentle release through the right hip maybe. Taking one more inhale here, and then on the exhale we're keeping the hips low, but we're taking the back foot forward, coming into our chair twist. Breathing in deeply, having a look to see where the knees are, making sure the feet are somewhat aligned. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? On the next inhale, we're going to take the hands up overhead, coming into our full chair pose, Utkatasana, and drawing the tailbone in. So we're not pointing it out, we're tucking everything in here, reaching up with the hands, zipping up through the abs. If it feels good, taking the weight over to the left foot, lifting the right, and then taking the right ankle over the left knee, finding a little figure four stretch. Breathing in here, exhaling fully. One last inhale. And then exhaling, taking both feet down to the mat, taking a little shake out of the legs, coming to Tadasana, mountain pose, both feet on the floor. Not for long, we're going to take our right foot this time, and we can take it in towards the ankle, the shin, or all the way up into the inner thigh. Seeing where the balance lies this morning. Finding tree pose on the other side. Maybe taking the hands out to the side, or maybe lifting them up overhead. Breathing in deeply, opening the lower back, the mid back, the chest and the side ribs. We're going to, on a big exhale, take the right foot all the way back into our high lunge, lifting the hands up overhead, breathing in deeply, and then exhaling, taking the hands down to the mat, stepping back into our high plank. Taking an inhale here, exhaling, lowering to Chaturanga. And then inhaling, lifting the chest, untucking the toes, finding our upward facing dog. On the next exhale, taking the hips all the way back and up into our downward facing dog. And just maybe taking a few yeses and nos of the head here, releasing any tension in the neck and the shoulders. Allowing the shoulders to fall away from the ears, and taking a bend of the knees, lifting the ankles, If that feels good, we want to take the tailbone as high as possible. On the next inhale, bending the knees deeply, stepping all the way forwards into our forward fold. And breathing in here, exhaling fully. From here, we're going to bend the knees to take the chest onto the tops of the thighs. And then once again, keeping the hips where they are, we're going to inhale, lifting the chest, taking the hands up overhead, and we're back in our chair pose and tucking the tailbone, zipping up through the abs. From here, we're going to come all the way up onto the very, very tiptoes. Exhaling, lowering down onto the backs of the heels. And then taking our hands over to the right side, placing them all the way down onto the ground, onto the mat. We're going to take our weight forwards. So finding the point where our left elbow starts to come into contact with the right knee, and our right elbow starts to come into contact with our right hip. Leaning forwards, and eventually the feet come off the mat, finding a little side crow here. And when you're ready, coming back onto the toes. We're going to take our hands down onto the mat, stepping back into our high plank. Exhaling, lowering halfway to chaturanga. Inhaling, lifting the chest. Exhaling, taking the hips all the way up and back into our downward facing dog. Breathing in here. Exhaling fully. On the next inhale, bending the knees, looking forward, stepping forwards, exhaling, forward fold. Maybe taking the hands to either elbow here, taking a gentle sway from left to right. And then when we're ready, taking that gentle bend to the knees to bring the chest, the tummy onto the tops of the thighs, keeping the hips where they are. We're going to inhale, lifting the chest, reaching the arms up overhead, opening back up into our Utkatasana chair pose. Breathing in here, feeling the burn, maybe in the quads. Reaching forwards with the hands, coming up onto the very tiptoes. Exhaling, lowering all the way down onto the backs of the heels. And once again, we're going to take our hands over to the left side this time. So the right elbow comes in contact with the left knee, and the left elbow comes into contact with the left hip. So leaning forwards, and eventually the feet lift off of the mat. When you're ready, coming back, both feet on the mat, taking our hands down towards the floor, stepping back into our high plank, inhaling here, exhaling, lowering to chaturanga, inhaling, upward facing dog, exhaling, hips up and back into our downward facing dog. And breathing in here just one last time. Exhaling, taking the knees down to the mat, coming to sit on the heels, and we're going to take the feet in front, bringing the back down to the mat, drawing the feet in towards the glutes, taking the hands down outside of the hips. We're going to press the feet into the mat. On the inhale, slowly lifting the hips forwards, coming up all the way onto the shoulders and squeezing the inner thighs together to stop the knees from falling apart. On the exhale, lowering the hips all the way back down to the mat. Drawing the knees into the chest. Maybe the knees come wide of the chest. Maybe taking the soles of the feet up to the sky and reaching peace fingers towards the big toes, elbows inside of the knees, finding our happy baby pose. Maybe closing down the eyes here. Maybe stretching one leg and then the other, or taking a gentle rock from side to side. Finding any last movement that feels good for you. On the next exhale, we're going to release the hands, drawing the knees back into the chest. And then exhaling, taking the legs long on the mat, hands come down to the side, finding your final resting Shavasana pose.